Welcome to section 12.7. This is the 130-second session of the CISSP exam prep series. In this session, we'll secure the most exposed service on the internet, email. We'll answer several questions. How does email actually move? What are you trying to achieve when you secure it? What weaknesses come baked in? Which protocols and standards add protection? How do you tame attachments and spam? And why does fax still deserve a mention? Why does this matter beyond the exam? Because email is where most attacks begin. Picture a finance clerk who receives a message that looks exactly like it came from the chief executive, asking for an urgent wire transfer. Everything about it feels routine. The controls in this session are what stand between that message and a very expensive mistake. Building those controls is your job. How does email actually move? A few protocols carry almost all of it. Servers use the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, or SMTP, to accept messages and relay them onward. Clients then pull mail from their inbox using either the Post Office Protocol version 3 or the Internet Message Access Protocol. When you run an SMTP server, configure strong authentication for both inbound and outbound mail, or you risk becoming an open relay. An open relay accepts and forwards mail without authenticating the sender, and spammers love it, flooding the world by piggybacking on your infrastructure. As relays lock down, attackers pivot to hijacking real accounts through social engineering and password guessing. A hosted, cloud-based email service is one alternative, lending you a major provider's scale and expertise, though it brings its own limits. Picture a post office that stamps and forwards any letter dropped on its counter, no questions asked. That open door is exactly what you close. What are you trying to achieve when you secure email? Basic email delivers messages efficiently but protects nothing. So you add security to reach specific goals. You restrict messages to their intended recipients for confidentiality. You preserve the integrity of the content, authenticate and verify the sender, and provide non-repudiation so a sender cannot deny what they sent. You verify delivery and classify sensitive content. Availability is the hard one, since no method truly guarantees an inbox is reachable, so you compensate with verified delivery and multiple access paths. And like all security, it starts with a policy from management covering acceptable use, access control and privacy, management, and backup and retention. Picture a mailroom with clear rules about who may open what, how long letters are kept, and who is allowed to read over your shoulder. What weaknesses come baked into email? The core protocols carry no native encryption, so messages usually travel as plain text, wide open to interception and eavesdropping. Email is a favorite carrier for viruses, worms, and malicious code, especially when clients auto-render HTML and scripts hidden in a message. Source verification is almost non-existent, so spoofing a sender address is trivial and headers can be forged in transit. Email can even become a weapon. Flood one inbox or server and you get a denial of service, sometimes called mail bombing. A related mess is the mail storm, where a careless reply-all cascade, amplified by autoresponders, buries everyone. An unwanted bulk mail, spam, wastes resources, and is hard to stop because its source is usually forged. Picture a mail slot that anyone can stuff with fake letters, hidden explosives, or endless junk. Which protocols and standards add protection? Think of two groups. First, message level protection. Secure MIME uses digital certificates and public key encryption to sign and encrypt messages, giving you integrity, authentication, non-repudiation, and confidentiality. Pretty Good Privacy is a peer-to-peer public and private key system that has become a de facto standard for encrypting mail. Second, sender and domain authentication that fights spoofing. DKIM lets a receiving server confirm a message really was authorized by the claimed domain. The sender policy framework checks that a message came from a host the domain owner approved, and DMARC builds on both, letting a domain owner set policy for how failures are handled and reported. On top of these, transport encryption wraps the connection itself. Startles is an SMTP command that upgrades a session to an encrypted channel when the FAR server supports it, while implicit SMTPS assumes encryption from the start and refuses plaintext. Picture a wax seal proving who wrote a letter, a registry confirming the sender is legitimate, and an armoured courier protecting the journey. How do you tame attachments and spam? Layer practical defences on top of the protocols. At the gateway, you can block attachments entirely, or block only the risky executable and scripting types, and pair that with user training and anti-malware tools. Just remember that anti-malware catches the known threats far better than the new ones. For unwanted mail, blocklist services subscribe you to known abuse sources so their messages are dropped on arrival. A challenge response filter asks an unknown sender to confirm they are human, which spammers never do. And reputation, filtering grades, sending services, sorting normal senders from spammers. Picture a diligent mailroom clerk who refuses suspicious packages, ignores letters from known troublemakers, and asks unfamiliar senders to prove they are real. Why does fax still deserve a mention? Because faxes linger, and they are as exposed as any phone call, open to interception and eavesdropping. You can harden them with fax encryptors that scramble the outgoing signal, and link encryption that carries the fax over a protected path like a VPN. Activity logs and exception reports help you spot anomalies that hint at an attack. Received faxes matter too. Pages left printing in a tray invite prying eyes, and warning banners only draw curiosity, so disable automatic printing and avoid machines that store copies in memory. Better still, route faxes to email instead of paper. Picture a confidential letter left face up in a shared tray, readable by anyone who wanders past. So let's bring it together. Email runs on SMTP, POP3, and IMAP, and an unauthenticated server becomes an open relay. You secure it toward clear goals: confidentiality, integrity, authentication, non-repudiation, and more, all anchored in policy. Its baked-in weaknesses include plain text transit, malware delivery, easy spoofing, and denial of service. You answer with message security like Secure MIME and PGP, sender authentication through DKIM, SPF, and DMARC, and transport encryption via Startles and SMTPS. Then you tame attachments and spam at the gateway and lock down lingering fax. Treat email as hostile by default, and defend it in layers. The MCQs covering all the topics and concepts from this session are available on RooCloud.com. Practice the chapter-specific MCQs before moving on to the next session. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, post a comment below or email us. I will see you in the next session.